guys, welcome to the ISBC podcast. I'm Annwen Burrows. With me today is Phil Vinciullo. We're going to talk a little bit about ISBC, what it is, what it means, why we're here. But first, we'll do a quick introduction of ourselves. Phil, you can go first.
Thank you, Annwen. Look, pretty exciting times right now.
Yeah.
Just to think, this was an idea and a concept a little while ago. And as the founders of ISBC, we're in that period now where we're about to see how big this can be.
Absolutely.
And a little bit about myself, international background. So my radio journey or broadcasting journey has taken me around the world. And I think that's a big reason why we have ISBC.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to explaining a little bit more about that. But my journey, and I'm very, very fortunate. I look at my career and I'm fortunate enough to say that I've been able to work as a broadcasting expat in places like Dubai, the Cayman Islands, and obviously here in Australia. So lots to unpack with that.
Yeah.
But I would consider myself fortunate. What I'd like to see is every student and graduate experience whatever their journey is, the way they would like to have it.
Absolutely.
So in a nutshell, that would be my story.
Yep.
More as we go along. Yourself?
For myself, I am definitely more domestic than international, but I have worked around Australia in broadcasting and in virtually every aspect of broadcasting, except maybe sales. That's not for everybody. But yeah, I did about 10 years in commercial radio before transitioning into the education space, but we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Let's talk now about ISBC. What does it stand for? What does it mean?
So, International Student Broadcasting Championship. That is the abbreviation, ISBC.
Yep.
And basically, it is a championship not just for radio. I think that's the big thing we want to clarify.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's centered around the modern media landscape. So whether you're in radio, podcast, or digital content creation, we want to hear from you.
Yeah. And esports.
And esports, which I know we're excited by it.
A burgeoning area that needs to be addressed.
Yes. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just starting to get my head around Twitch.
Yeah.
But that's just my age. But it's exciting because the modern media landscape is a dynamic, really inviting place. And I think the misconception, and that's something that I find a little bit, it irritates me,
Okay.
is people that are probably our generation that are basically saying radio's dead.
Yep.
Or this misconception that there's a lack of employment or opportunities. Rubbish. The landscape is changing. It is exciting. It's about, and how we've always been when it comes to broadcasting, and particularly radio, it's how you pivot.
So true.
And if you can pivot, you can have a really prosperous career.
So we've talked a little bit about ourselves and what ISBC stands for, which is great, but why? Why have we created these awards?
Well, I think we've been on a journey individually, which has now led to a more of a global ideology.
Yeah.
So if you think about our personal careers, like you were saying earlier, you've had a very national, domestic career, whereas mine has been a little bit different and has been international.
Yes.
Now, backstory, we went to radio school together.
We did many, many moons ago.
So it's incredible to look at that fork in the road and how you have a different career.
Yeah.
Now, as the journey winds and twists and turns, eventually we ended up working together by helping establish a radio broadcasting and podcasting program at NMT, which is a college here in Perth.
Correct.
What I've found exciting about that is being able to take what I've learned from being abroad, whilst also trying to apply what's required nationally.
Yes.
But what we've established is the same problems exist everywhere.
They really do.
And I think what we've learnt is that the world is becoming a much smaller place and there is opportunity for everybody. But students, graduates in particular at the moment, are seeming to find it a little bit hard to transition from college or university into industry. Now, there's two reasons from our perspective. one, I think there's a bit of a disconnect between the expectations of industry and how we're bringing students or graduates into the system, which we want to help with.
Of course.
That networking and collaboration between industry and student.
Yep.
The other element is that students in the education process aren't being given those final tools or that networking opportunity, that true networking opportunity to pivot, transition, and get the start that they're striving for. So ISBC, for me, is the beginning of helping students and graduates network, transition, and if they require some further development to achieve the outcomes they want and to get their start in industry. That's my take. Yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Something you and I are both extremely passionate about is talent development. You know, we've worked in the education space with broadcasting now for over a decade. So it's definitely something where we've seen the evolution of the student, we've seen the evolution of the industry, we've seen, you know, all of these things come together to better understand how we can help people get from point A to point B.
But what's hilarious, I shouldn't say hilarious, it's not funny. It is, but it isn't.
Okay.
But is how many times have we had industry at the moment, major media groups telling us that there's no talent out there at the moment?
Yeah. Struggling to get talent.
But there is.
There is.
There is plenty.
Yep.
And
We
then-
just need to make that disconnect disappear.
Right. And I think the other thing that needs to disappear is this mentality that it's your own backyard. Like
Yep.
opportunity presents everywhere. And if you're prepared to go on the magic carpet ride, if you're prepared to be open-minded, talent can meet opportunity.
Absolutely.
And you have this chance to experience things that you could only dream of. If you would have said to me 6 months before turning 21 that in a little bit over, in a few months' time, you'd be heading off to Dubai to do a drive time show, I would have laughed at you.
Yes.
First of all, I would have asked you, where is Dubai on the map? then,
How long does it take to get there?
right? But arguably one of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah.
So this is what ISBC is all about. We want to bring industry in. We want to circumvent that disconnect between student, graduate, and industry.
Yep.
We want to provide opportunity for all, whilst also assisting industry to find the people that they're looking for.
And the right people
Yep.
for the right jobs.
Exactly. It's not just a broadcasting championship or award platform.
Yep.
It's too simplistic of how we would summarize ISBC. We're more than that.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing about some award programs. Some award programs, it's great. They focus on things like identifying talent, but there's probably about 600 awards, which is, not identifying the quality. It's,
Yeah, we're about quality over quantity.
Yeah, I think we're not, I don't believe ISBC is a participation award event.
Correct.
Okay. The second part of ISBC that I think is exciting is we are incredibly focused on making sure that industry is involved in the process.
Yeah.
So our judges are genuinely worldwide.
Yep.
Which is, I think, pretty cool. And
I think it's great.
And most of them are at the peak of their powers.
Yeah. I mean, we can't claim to be a global competition if we're not embracing global industry and judges.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important point. There are some really cool awards programs out there, and some have laid the foundation for what we're doing right now.
Yep.
But they're not truly international.
Yes.
Yes, you may be able to apply, but the way it's set up, it's very North American centric in some, or wherever the market may be, but it's very much devised for that market.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to participate, great, but you're pretty much at a disadvantage. We all know that school systems are on different dates, different times.
Yep.
The beautiful thing about ISBC is I think we've identified a date.
Yes. Well, we've tried to be hyper aware of those factors that you just mentioned.
Right. So I think, we've set a date, and we'll explain more later on, but
Yep.
the date is designed to allow anyone that's been in education this year to apply and have a fair shot at competing.
Yep.
And we've also not disadvantaged anyone. So if you're a graduate or a mid-year graduate from a North American market, that's not a problem. You can still participate as long as you have studied within the year of 2023.
Yep.
Graduate or not, you can partake.
Yep.
And I think that levels the playing field because we know in Australia, graduation is in December. Obviously North America, mid-year. And, look at other markets, it varies.
Yes.
So I think with the date we've established, it's fair, equitable, and allows a really cool process.
All right, we've talked a little bit about who ISBC is, who we are, and, the benefits of this competition. Let's talk a little bit now about why people should be a part of this competition. And I think the opportunity for people to network with like-minded people is just as important as, the global aspect of it, the fact that we have judges all over the world, etc. Students being able to come together and actually network with each other on a global scale is not something that we've seen before.
No, I don't think so. I know nationally markets do good jobs. Like, let's be honest, the US college radio scene is a machine.
Huge.
Really impressive stuff. And they
Absolutely.
do interconnect and work really well. Same in the UK, to be honest. I know France has an amazing student radio scene. So nationally, there's some really good markets. What we want to see at ISBC is that all come together.
Yeah.
Just haven't seen that yet.
I want a student in Texas to, talk to a student in Africa.
Right.
And
I think what happens is that it becomes this process of, can you imagine the collaboration of content that happens? Like, some of the best stuff that we've seen comes from students in a college radio environment that are just experimenting.
Yes.
Could you imagine if that experimentation goes on another level where there's global interaction?
Amazing.
Global networking.
Yeah.
And that's just on a student level.
Yes.
I think that's incredibly cool. We can see projects that, that could really break down some boundaries.
Yep.
From a networking perspective with industry, I'll go back to what I was saying a little earlier. The world's a much smaller place.
Yes.
You can get visas for different markets and really get to experience an expat radio life, kickstart your career on an international broadcasting level, really get some great new ways and thinking and ideology and processes, and bring them to your return home to your markets and apply them.
Yes.
Bit similar to what I did with my time, abroad.
I mean, ultimately, that's only going to improve broadcasting across the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the world's smaller.
Yeah.
Why not take advantage of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It runs the risk of domestic markets becoming too insular. And I think the fact that, we are such a connected world, we're connected 24/7, it's ridiculous that we're not taking advantage of that to improve broadcasting worldwide.
But I was thinking about our own students along the journey, and we've always encouraged them to seek feedback outside.
Yep.
And when we say outside, not necessarily, in another state, but also go get some global feedback.
Yeah.
Here's the beautiful thing when you create that kind of ecosystem. One, you feel less daunted by seeking feedback when it's further away, per se. Right?
Yeah.
So if you can get that feedback, it can only improve. If we create a network where people can communicate, then we can see students reach out, seek the feedback they're looking for to take the next step in their journey.
Yeah. Okay, we haven't even touched on the fact that there are awards involved.
Yes, and we'll elaborate more along the journey, but I
Yes.
think the most critical one is the trophy component.
Yep.
So I think the best way to start is let's refer to our logo.
Yes.
So
That's where it all starts.
Everybody's probably looking at the ISBC logo and going, what is this? It looks like a sun. What is it?
With a corona. No.
No. So
No, that's not what it is.
the gold obviously is to establish gold standard.
Yes. Championship. Yep.
But you can elaborate the logo.
Well, the logo itself is in fact a recording button. We see it on iPhones, on, software, everywhere at the moment. We see that particular circle within a circle which represents a record button.
And I think that's also the beginning of the creative journey, right? The moment you hit
Press
that
start.
button, magic begins. And I think we're all about, once you press that button and the magic starts, what kind of gold standard are you going to give us?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we've taken our logo and we've translated that into our pricing.
Yes. So obviously, being a championship as well,
Yes.
you know, most, shall we say, media awards and stuff like that kind of focus on trophies. I've seen everything from headphones to $12 microphones. But I think we've gone with a different approach. We've considered this a championship, and like any great championship, what do you win?
Medals?
You win a medal.
Yeah.
I think a gold medal looks fabulous. And I think it's different.
Not to say that we don't have trophies.
No.
Trophies will still be involved,
100%. So,
but for our individual winners, they will receive a gold medal.
which I think's very unique,
Yeah.
memorable,
Yep.
and
It's hot.
it's just hot.
It's
be
hot.
Frank, we've been talking about how hot it will be.
I
So,
mean, we literally sat there in the office and went, can we order an extra 3 so that we can have one each?
right?
We want one.
Exactly. So I think we're pretty excited by that. I think it's unique, dynamic, and it sums up everything ISBC is all about.
Yep.
And in addition, obviously, for the Station of the Year, there will be some more substantial
There will.
award outcomes, but we can share that a little bit later on.
Yeah, we don't need
We
to
need
go
a
into
quick
that
tease.
just yet.
Yes.
Now, in terms of applying for the awards, let's talk a little bit about the process so that people can understand how they can find us, how they can apply.
Right. Well, I think the first step is to visit the website, isbc.co. The next step, I'll hand it over to you.
Finding the parent award categories. So we have it broken down into radio, podcast, digital, and esports. Now, radio is such a broad term. We have so many different awards involved in that.
And I think it's important to establish that it's not just about on-air components.
Definitely not.
So, yes, on-air is incredibly important. We'll celebrate that, but we are looking at there's a host of categories. If you think broadcasting, if you think radio, we are talking everything that makes that machine work.
Yep.
So whether it's promotions and marketing, digital content,
Copywriting.
copy, anything creative, audio
VO.
production, VO, whatever makes the machine work, you'll probably find there is an awards category.
Suitable for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Moving on to podcast, we celebrate all things podcasts. For goodness sake, we're on one. But we love new podcasts. We love podcast ideas. We love established podcasts. There's plenty of awards in there for you to check out.
And I think the coolest thing about this is there's one cool category called the pitch,
Yeah.
where you get to pitch your idea for a future podcast. And to think that you've got international judges that are in that space listening to that, you just don't know.
I mean, let's be honest. What is more international than podcasting?
Right? So
You have a global market at your fingertips.
and the whole process gives you an opportunity to celebrate yourself,
Yeah.
your ideas, and put it on an international level.
Yeah. Now, digital. Massive, massive space in broadcasting now.
It's the pivot.
It absolutely is. And we've seen through our firsthand experience students go from learning radio broadcasting to becoming content creators full time.
Some of our best students.
Some of our best. So that's definitely something that we want to embrace through this championship is all things content creator, all things multimedia, all things digital, all things video.
Look, if you just bring it back to radio broadcasting, we always talk about, everyone's always predicting the death of radio. But it just
I believe, was it 1981 that video killed the radio star?
yeah,
and
it's still waiting.
Still here.
Still waiting, still standing.
still here.
And I
Thanks,
think,
Buggles.
but it makes a really good point. And
Yeah.
we've always celebrated this in radio, that it knows how to work and marry with either existing media entities or platforms, or merge or pivot with it
And evolve.
and evolve.
Yeah.
Evolution
Yeah.
is what makes radio so so resilient.
Yep.
And I think that's what's exciting about it, the way it is merged with digital content. We see it here in the Australian media scene. It is basically become a fabric of modern day radio.
Imperative.
So, yeah, exciting times.
Now, our last parent category is esports. Now, this is a new area for you and me, but plenty of people have already dipped their toe into this delicious well.
I remember when we were planning out ISBC and our team dropped the whole, we need to be looking at the future. We said, well, we're looking at the future. No, the real future.
The real future.
We recognize that there's a massive evolution in that space.
Yep.
And it's actually an exciting dynamic that's being added into the media landscape mix.
No doubt. We encourage all of you, once you've gone to the website, isbc.co, discuss with your colleagues, with your classmates, decide if you want to go into some group awards, individual awards. What does that landscape look like for you? If you head to the website and you have a look through those parent award groups, it will show you every possible award. And I guarantee there's at least 2 or 3 for every single individual out there.
And the exciting thing is that it's still streamlined to be quality over quantity.
Yes.
Like they are all genuine award categories. There's no participation award categories here.
Yeah.
I really got a problem with that.
Yes. Yeah. And I think in order to be the best, you got to beat the best.
And that's a really important point. What makes this competition, this championship exciting is that it's very easy to say you're the best, but have you truly been
tested?
Right. No, because let's be real. Like there are some markets where they celebrate being the absolute best, but it's just really an internal competition.
Yeah.
I think to be able to claim that the competition needs to be put out on a global level.
Yeah.
It needs to have global participation, and then you can claim being the best.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Now, for all the student broadcasters, I highly encourage you to play into your strengths. Think about those things that you do best. What are you famous for?
We say this to our students.
We do.
Every day.
Yeah.
What are you going to be famous for?
Yeah. Think about what it is that you do best and really focus on that in terms of the awards that you decide to go for.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to experiment a little. Separate yourself. Take a chance.
Yeah.
You normally find that those take a little bit of a chance with what they're doing, normally reap some pretty heavy benefits.
Yeah.
So I would like to see, I want to see evolution. That's what I want to see.
The other part that I wanted to add was that there is criteria for each of the awards. So when you go and have a look at them online, make sure that you have a look at the criteria and make sure that you can meet each one of those criteria. If you can't meet the criteria, you won't be considered for the award.
100%. And I think it's worth noting that the judging panel is 100% independent. It is all international judges, and no one in ISBC is involved in that process.
You make a very good point. We will not be judging. We're here to chat. We're here to help, but we will not be judging.
Yes. So leave all your bribes at home. We cannot accept anything.
I mean, maybe. No. All right, Phil, we need to start wrapping this up. But before we go, very important that we point out that we do have a lot of extra resources for students to be able to get hints, tips, tricks, support. So make sure that you head to the website where there will be extra resources, but also it's your opportunity to join in the global conversation with other students as well by heading to our socials. You'll find ISBC Championship on all platforms.
And I think one thing we want to clarify is that we're here for all students.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this.
Yep.
And if you're a student that wants to reach out, you can also head to LinkedIn. We think LinkedIn's a magnificent networking tool.
We are extremely active on LinkedIn.
So feel free to reach out to us on our private handles. Feel free to follow or reach out via message, and we're happy to connect with all students that are going on the ISBC journey.
Absolutely. Good first podcast.
Hey, look at that. One in the can.
Absolutely. We'll return with episode 2, where we're going to be talking about one last parent category that we didn't actually talk about today, and that is people's choice.
Exciting times ahead.